Paltrocast.
Jake, thank you for taking the time to speak with me again. Grateful is still the new record. You're on the road again in about a week, right? Some shows in Washington State.
Yes, uh-huh. Yeah, looking forward to it. Very excited.
Are you playing a lot of Grateful on this tour?
We are, especially the instrumental pieces. I'm a horrible singer, so it wouldn't I wouldn't be able to pull off the vocal tunes, but no, but I am. I'm just truly I'm very very proud of this record because I got to collaborate with all the artists that I grew up listening to. The when I was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, so my first exposure to music was the traditional music here, um, and and so I grew up listening to the people on this record. Guys like Henry Kapono, Brother Nolan, Kavika Kahiapo. I mean, it's just so to be able to collaborate with them and do this, was so meaningful. The album's called Grateful because, well, for two reasons. One, is a song written by a friend of mine, Justin Kavika Young, who, we both started out our music careers together, here in Hawaii. But the second part is also is also that there's a Japanese saying, it's Okage-sama Day, which means I am what I am because of you. And that's really what this album is about. It's about recognizing and having the opportunity, to express my gratitude, to all the musicians who paved the way for us, who came before us, and really inspired us. And and it really is Okage-sama Day, meaning, because of these musicians, I am the musician I am, because of their influence and their inspiration.
You mentioned Japanese language right there, and I know you get to go back there in March. Is this probably your 20th tour of Japan?
It's I've been there quite a bit, because my touring career actually started there.
Right.
Even before I started touring, the mainland and other places. Back in 2001, I signed with my first major record deal with a Japanese label. It was Sony Music Japan, and that was the first record deal I signed as a solo artist. Because I played in bands prior to that, like in the 90s and stuff. And my first band was a band out of Hawaii called Pure Heart, and we did a lot of traditional and contemporary Hawaiian music. But as a soloist, that was my first exposure to to trying to write and to do arrangements all on my own and tackling instrumental pieces. So it was quite exciting. But it wasn't until 2005 when I had when I had a video that went viral on YouTube, that really opened the doors, to other countries and to play in the continental US and
Right.
Europe and different parts of Asia and Canada and Australia. So it's really been such a blessing, and I'm loving it. I love having the opportunity to perform and to connect with audiences and communities, all over the world, through the ukulele. So I'm looking forward, to this upcoming tour, and especially to play songs off of this new record, because like I said, it was a very meaningful project to me, and yeah, so I hope people enjoy it.
You're a very modest guy. I've been in Japan when you've been there, and I saw how big the venues you were playing over there. It reminds me of, say, like Cheap Trick with Budokan, or
Oh man.
it's that kind of a thing where you go, that guy is huge in Japan and it's legitimate. And I say that because some of the venues that you're playing in here in the States, they're respectable theaters, but they are huge theaters overseas in Japan. So is the set list different? In other words, do you have a catalog that specifically gets played in Japan that's different from when you're doing US touring?
Yeah, I do have a lot of albums that were only released in Japan that weren't released in the States. And so so I do perform those pieces a lot. And sometimes they cross over. Like, for example, there's a song called Ichigo Ichie that was only released in Japan early on. And and I remember a while back, you know, someone from the States had heard me play that in Japan, and they were like, "Why don't you do that song?" You know, when you play outside of Japan. And I just thought, well, I don't know. I guess in my mind, I just thought it was I just wasn't sure if people would connect with it, you know. But recently, you know, we've been playing it in our sets, and yeah, people have been really responding to it. And we did a friend of mine, Ron Artis, you know, wrote some lyrics to it recently, and we just recorded it, the vocal version, you know, on the new Grateful album as well. So I just yeah, so I've been kind of using a lot of the songs now that I do play in Japan, you know, over in the States, and they seem, you know, people seem to enjoy it. It's a different vibe, right? Like there's a piece called Sakura Sakura. That's a traditional Japanese folk tune about the cherry blossom season, and it has a very, it's completely different from anything else that I would normally play outside of Japan. And even the sound of the instrument, you know, I use a different plucking technique
Mhm.
that's pretty I don't know if you've ever heard it, the arrangement that I play of that, but it almost mimics the sound of the koto, you know, which is a
Yeah.
Japanese harp. So, you know, so I love doing things like that. And in Japan, you know, I used to play that all the time. And recently I've been playing it outside of Japan as well.
It's so intriguing to me how well versed you are with Hawaiian traditional music where you grew up, because I know about your metal influences as well, which is kind of the opposite. Sure, you do have your overlap, your Marty Friedmans of the world, when you could be in a band called Hawaii and play metal and have the Japan thing going on. But where was the metal influence starting versus the Hawaiian local music?
Oh yeah, that stuff that definitely came a lot later. You know, like when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old is when I started, you know, being exposed to all these other genres and different, you know, guitar players especially. But so yeah, so I just love the energy of that music, you know, and the sound and just the way it made me feel back then. So but instead of seeking out the guitar, you know, I remember thinking to myself, like, how can I how can I create that same kind of energy and that same feeling, you know, with the ukulele?
Hmm.
So that's kind of what led to experimenting with a lot of effect pedals and amplifiers and really figuring out how to amplify my instrument in a way that wasn't just louder but also musical. And you brought up Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman has always been one of my heroes. I just love his tone and his phrasing, the way he plays. You know, he's such a shredder, but he's so he has so much finesse in his playing, and I absolutely love that. You know, Jeff Beck was another one who, oh man, just I could listen to him play. I mean, forever. He's just so brilliant, and the tones that he would get. And I think so. Those became my influences. Was how can I really change up um, the timbre and the color, you know, on the instrument, just to be more expressive, or to not more expressive, but just to express different things, right? And evoke different kinds of emotions. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, but that definitely came a lot later, you know. So, and I think growing up in Hawaii too, you know, there's so much cultural diversity and all of that that I think it's also very reflective in the music and the influences. You know, when I think about the early ukulele players, the people who inspired me, like Eddie Kamai and Ota-san and Israel Kamako Vivo Ole, you know, Roy Sukuma, like all the Peter Moon, Kelly Boy DeLima, Troy Fernandez. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But when I think about all of those players, you know, they all had their own unique styles and their own, they were all virtuosos in their own way. And so that's really what paved the way for me, you know. So I started listening to all of them and their albums and watching them play,
Hmm.
and then gravitating to artists who use different instruments like the electric guitar or the piano or the trumpet or, you know, or anything, and just realizing, like, you know, there's so many virtuosos in all these different instruments, and there's so much that you can learn.
Yeah. With I lose you in the connection there, Jake?
The ukulele sounds.
Got it. So with Marty Friedman, I learned from speaking with him, don't ever call him a shredder. He hates that.
Okay, I would never. No, and and that's the thing about him, right? He's so musical. So even
yeah,
though he's capable of doing, like all that, he's just so musical, and everything he plays is absolutely beautiful.
I
He's so
agree.
melodic, and yeah, I love his playing. And
And you
I
mentioned
would
Jeff
never call
Beck.
him that.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Jeff Beck is kind of the opposite because Jeff Beck is less flashy. There's fewer notes in there. If you're going to do the scale of Guitar Heroes of Jeff Beck to Ingve, Ingve, maybe
Oh,
there's too many notes, and Marty's fortunately somewhere in the middle of those two.
mm, yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Ingve Malmsteen he's just a phenom. I mean, I remember the first time I heard his record, Far Beyond the Sun and all that, that was it called Black Star? I can't remember the name of that album, but I remember hearing that. I was just like, oh my goodness, how's he? There's no way. And then I saw a live video of him at one of his concerts, and he's doing all that stuff while he's running around on
Yeah,
stage. I was like, how in the world? He's not even looking at his fingers. It's just amazing, But yeah, I mean, he can do that stuff in his sleep. It's just incredible. But yeah, I remember listening to him, Ingve, and Al Di Meola was another one that I remember hearing. And gosh, just just those runs that they would do and how clean and effortless, they make it look. It was just so inspiring.
and when you're touring these days, who's in your group?
So yeah, so recently I've been just touring with a friend of mine, Jackson Waldhoff. He's a wonderful bass player from Hawaii. And but on this holiday tour, this upcoming holiday tour that we're doing, a good friend of mine, Justin Kavika Young, who wrote the title track of the record, Grateful, he's going to be out on the road with us, and he went out on the road with us last year too. And he's just so awesome. We started out playing together, and yeah, he's just an incredible songwriter. He was Kobe Calay's writing partner and um and musical partner for many years, and then they formed a band called Gone West out of Nashville. And then the pandemic hit, so they released their album, but then the pandemic happened, and they weren't able to really tour the record or anything. But it's a beautiful, beautiful um, project. And so if you haven't heard it, man, you should check it out. But it's called Gone West. The music is amazing. The songs that they wrote are incredible, and their harmonies and arrangements just off the charts. So he's coming out with us, and looking forward to it because he brings that vocal element
Mhm.
to the shows. And yeah, he just always just blows people away, man. His musicality is unreal.
Well, three quick questions, and then I'll let you go. And the first one is we know from looking at the press releases and that kind of stuff that you're touring a lot in March by going to Japan. There's a Honolulu date around there as well. This is the time of year when artists either go, I'm slowing down, I need a year off, or they go, oh, I'm going to go hard at the next year. How is 2024 looking at in terms of touring, recording, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good balance of, because there's the touring side of it too, but then, we always try to factor in time for recording projects and other new things, right? That show up on your plate. So I love it, man. I just always love doing different things. This whole collaboration thing though has really impacted my life. I mean, I absolutely love it. Like the last two records we did now were collaborative, projects, and it's been so inspiring. So I definitely want to do more of that, and not just collaborating with musicians. Now I've been collaborating with painters and videographers, photographers, um and it's just you realize that the creative process is universal.
Mm-hmm.
We just we all go to that same place, but we just have different instruments that we use, right, to express it. And so being able to collaborate with these other creatives has been inspiring for me, and it's been so fulfilling, and all kinds of new friendships, have been emerging from it, and just connectivity. And I love, especially when musicians get to connect, um, because not only does it bring bring more artists together,
Mhm.
um, but it also brings their own communities together as well, and that's a beautiful thing, when you see these artists when they get together and do something, it's so powerful. And I think when it's done with the right intention and the right heart and love behind it and passion, it just it just it just unifies us, so I'm looking forward to more collaborative efforts. And in fact, we're in the studio now working on a new record, and this one's going to be fun. It's going to be my first blues album, and so I'm very excited about it. It's a four-piece. We're actually it's two friends of mine, Jackson Waldhoff, who I tour with on bass, Michael Grande on keyboards. He also helped produce this new Grateful record, and
Mhm.
engineered it as well. But then get this, on drums, we have the legendary Mick Fleetwood playing
Oh,
drums. I know
Hawaiian royalty
it
as well.
is
Wow.
crazy, right? So, yeah, we're doing you brought up Jeff Beck. Well, we were talking about Jeff Beck, so we're doing two Jeff Beck tunes. We're doing a Gary Moore tune. We wrote a song. We wrote a couple bluesy numbers. So there's about 7 or 8 tracks on this that's going to be on this album. And I think the shortest track is probably about 6 minutes long so far. So it's going to be a longer record with fewer tracks. But man, I tell you, collaborating with Mick Fleetwood, man, his sound and his feel is just so inspiring, man. Every time because everything was recorded live, everything's recorded live in the studio. So playing with him, and oh man, it's just like I'm just smiling. I mean, just ear to ear, and it's so amazing, and it was such a blessing to be able to have that time with him.
Okay, next question. Very random one right here. When you're from New York, you think of the tropical paradise of Hawaii as where you vacation. Where do you vacation? In
No.
other words, what is the reverse one that you go, do you say, I really wanted to go somewhere cold and miserable? I'm going to New York.
I love New York City. You know, I don't know, like usually for us, like, well, our family in particular, whenever we have time off, we normally go and visit, our family on the neighbor islands, maybe. Um, our last family trip that we took was in 2019. We all went to Japan, together. So that was a pretty awesome experience. We've gone to Las Vegas a lot. I don't know if you've heard, but people in Hawaii, they love going to Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. What's that
Yeah.
chain store, the ABC Mart or something like
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah, ABC store. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all over the place. Yes.
So yeah, but I love fishing. Fishing is something that I grew up doing a lot. So, so we go on fishing trips a lot, and so that's always great. Something fun to do with the family.
And the last question, I know that you can play Eruption by Van Halen.
No, no,
I know you
no.
can. Will we ever get a Van Halen cover recorded by you? Because again,
Oh
I know you can do
man.
it.
I I can play some of those, some of the recognizable parts of that, but oh man, yeah, that would be a neat song to try to make work for the ukulele, in a way that hopefully wouldn't make him cringe, but I think he would cringe either way. So,
I
but
won't
man,
cringe, but
he is yeah, that man, talk about just another special human being, man, to pick up that instrument. I just a genius. I mean, I can't even, you know, it's one thing to like try to cover like his solos and to, you know, and to play what he played, but to actually think how how do you even realize like that would fit in that song? You know, like the things that he would come up with. It's just like, how did he imagine this? And the thing is, it fits and it sounds so cool and unlike anything you 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 know you ever would think you would hear within those 16 bars or those 32 bars or something. It's like, how did he imagine all of that working there? You know, it's just brilliant. It's, you know, I mean, I don't think there will ever be another one like Eddie Van Halen. I mean, the way that
Well,
you
if
would
I
hear
can
music.
interrupt you, have you heard his son Wolfgang play?
Oh yes, I have.
Now,
Hmm.
Wolfgang apparently is as good, aside from songwriting, because he's writing totally different music, but not only is he as good as his father on guitar, but on drums and bass too. Like
Oh
he's
my
possibly a
gosh.
better drummer than he is a guitar player. So
Oh.
there could be another Eddie Van Halen. It's just his last name is Van Halen. Well,
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
bottom line is this, Jake. Congratulations on Grateful. Looking forward to that blues record with Mick. Looking forward to the future touring. Just keep on doing what you're doing. It's really exciting to see how your career and your creativity keep progressing. And we really don't know what's coming next, but that's pretty exciting.
Oh, thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it, and just thank you for your support over the years, and thanks for your kind words. And yeah, looking forward to this tour. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Paltrocast.